The faster the speed of your vehicle, the longer it takes to stop when you must react to other drivers' unexpected movements. A. True. B. False. A. True. The faster you are driving, the longer it will take for you to stop to react to other drivers' unexpected moves. You are preparing to exit the interstate. When should you start reducing your speed? A. About halfway through the deceleration lane. B. As you approach the deceleration lane. C. Immediately upon entering the deceleration lane. C. Immediately upon entering the deceleration lane. When leaving an interstate, you should maintain your speed until you enter the deceleration lane, at which point you should reduce your speed to the exit ramp's posted advisory speed. When passing other vehicles. A. Check your mirrors and blind spots. B. Honk your horn at least 3 times. C. Re-enter your lane within 10 feet of the passed vehicle. D. There is no need to signal. A. Check your mirrors and blind spots. Before passing another vehicle, check your mirrors and blind spots. Before changing lanes, activate the appropriate turn signal. Re-enter the lane when you can see the front of the passed vehicle in your rearview mirror. When approaching a pedestrian using a white cane or guide dog, you should A. Stop until the person is well away from the roadway. B. Honk your horn as you pass them. C. Carefully drive around them. A. Stop until the person is well away from the roadway. South Carolina law gives special protection to blind pedestrians. If a person carrying a white cane or using a guide dog enters the street, all drivers must stop and yield to them.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
Which of the following is against the law and is punishable by imprisonment and/or fines? A. Driving barefooted. B. Steering with one hand. C. Speeding. C. Speeding. The legal maximum speed limit is the absolute limit to how fast you may drive. Participating in or assisting a race on a public highway can be punished by a fine and/or imprisonment. Motorists are not required to yield to pedestrians when they walk against a traffic light. A. True. B. False. B. False. Drivers should always be willing to give a pedestrian the right of way, regardless of whether or not they are legally entitled to it. Always yield the right of way to pedestrians, motor vehicles, bicyclists, or anyone else who has moved into an intersection before you. No zones are areas around trucks where cars A. Disappear into blind spots. B. Have sufficient space for traveling behind and passing trucks. C. Can try to squeeze around the truck when the truck makes a wide turn. A. Disappear into blind spots. Large trucks and buses have large blind spots to the sides, the rear, and the front. These areas are referred to as no zones. Drivers of smaller vehicles should avoid lingering in these areas because they will be invisible to the truck driver and may also restrict the truck driver's ability to stop or maneuver safely. When driving through a neighborhood, the speed limit is usually 30 miles per hour. A. True. B. False. A. True. The maximum speed limit in an urban or residential area is usually 30 miles per hour. When you drive through a construction zone, you should A. Stop to watch the workers. B. Decrease your following distance. C. Pass the construction zone carefully and not rubberneck. C. Pass the construction zone carefully and not rubberneck. To avoid contributing to chronic traffic congestion, you should not rubberneck. That is, you should not slow down to look at out of the ordinary things. Which of the following statements about steering a vehicle is true? A. Both hands should be placed on the outside of the steering wheel. B. Never steer with just one hand, unless you are backing or operating a vehicle control wiper, flashers, lights, etc. that requires a temporary reach from the steering wheel. C. Both of the above. C. Both of the above. You should steer with one hand only when backing up or operating a vehicle control. Your hands should be placed on the outside of the steering wheel on opposite sides with your thumbs facing up. Drivers turning left must yield to A. Overtaking cars. B. Oncoming cars. C. No one. B. Oncoming cars. Drivers turning left must yield to oncoming vehicles that are driving straight ahead. A turning driver may only proceed when they can safely turn without affecting oncoming traffic. If you want to make a three-point turnabout and there is traffic approaching, you should A. Begin the turnabout right away. B. Flash your headlights and begin the turnabout. C. Yield to oncoming traffic coming from all directions before performing the maneuver. C. Yield to oncoming traffic coming from all directions before performing the maneuver. When you make a three-point turn, all approaching traffic has the right of way. Only perform a turnabout when it is safe to do so. On a four-lane highway, slower traffic should drive in the A. Center lane. B. Right lane. C. Left lane. B. Right lane. On a four-lane highway, slower traffic should travel in the right lane. Use the left lanes to pass slower-moving traffic. Just like alcohol and other drugs, drowsiness can A. Help you to be a better driver. B. Make you feel better. C. Impair your judgment. C. Impair your judgment. Not getting enough sleep is a cause of poor driving behavior. Just like drugs and alcohol, sleepiness slows reaction time, decreases awareness, and impairs judgment. How can you lower the risk of hydroplaning? A. Do not speed when the roads are wet. B. Use tires with proper air pressure. C. Replace tires with bad tread. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Hydroplaning happens when a vehicle glides on top of a thin layer of water between its tires and the road. Tires with low air pressure or bad tread can increase the risk of hydroplaning. Speeding also increases the risk. You should yield to a pedestrian. A. Only if they are in a crosswalk. B. At all times, even if the pedestrian is not obeying traffic laws. C. Only if the traffic lights are in the pedestrian's favor. B. At all times, even if the pedestrian is not obeying traffic laws. Always be aware of pedestrians near your vehicle. You must do everything you can to prevent striking a pedestrian, regardless of the circumstances. If your vehicle has a mechanical problem, A. Signal and pull into the slow lane. B. Stop in your lane and put on your hazard lights. C. Put on your hazard lights and pull off the road. C. Put on your hazard lights and pull off the road. If your vehicle breaks down on a highway, make sure other drivers can see it. Get your vehicle off the road and away from traffic if at all possible, and turn on your emergency flashers to show that you are having trouble. This sign means A. Narrow bridge ahead. B. Lane ends or roadway narrows ahead. C. Industrial area. D. Freeway on ramp ahead. B. Lane ends or roadway narrows ahead. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign warns drivers that the right lane is ending or that the road is narrowing ahead. When it starts raining or snowing enough for you to turn on your windshield wipers, you must also A. Pull over to the side of the road. B. Turn on your headlights. C. Shift into a lower gear. B. Turn on your headlights. You are required to turn on your headlights anytime conditions make it necessary for you to use your windshield wipers. Use your low beams, not your high beams, when driving in inclement weather. Defensive driving is A. Identifying dangerous driving situations and taking action to avoid accidents. B. Defending yourself against poor drivers by getting ahead of them in traffic. C. Following the vehicle ahead of you at a close distance. D. Quickly changing lanes and shifting in and out of traffic congestion. A. Identifying dangerous driving situations and taking action to avoid accidents. You drive defensively when you identify dangerous driving situations and take action before an accident occurs. Defensive driving helps prevent conflicts with aggressive, offensive, discourteous, careless, inattentive, impulsive, ignorant, or intoxicated drivers or pedestrians. You are coming to an intersection with a flashing yellow light. You should A. Stop and wait for the light to change. B. Make a U-turn because the intersection is closed. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. D. Prepare to stop, the light is about to turn red. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. A flashing yellow light means that you should proceed through the intersection slowly and with caution. Scan your eyes across traffic in both directions. There are two traffic lanes moving in your direction. You are driving in the left lane and many vehicles are passing you on the right. If the driver behind you wishes to drive faster, you should A. Stay in your lane so you don't impede the flow of traffic. B. Drive onto the left shoulder to let the other vehicles pass. C. Move into the right lane when it is safe. C. Move into the right lane when it is safe. To drive quickly, pass, or turn left, use the left lane. Use the right lane when driving more slowly than surrounding traffic, entering the road, or turning right. Double solid yellow lane markings mean that A. Neither lane may pass. B. Both lanes may pass. C. The lane to the right may pass. A. Neither lane may pass. Yellow lane markings indicate a separation of lanes where traffic is traveling in opposite directions. When you see double solid yellow lane markings, passing is prohibited from both directions. This road sign means A. No right turn. B. Drive only in the direction of the arrow. C. Curve ahead. B. Drive only in the direction of the arrow. Regulatory signs provide notice to road users of traffic laws that must be obeyed. Where this sign is present, drivers must drive in the direction indicated by the arrow. If you are stopped by a police officer, you should A. Unbuckle your seat belt and lower your window. B. Get your paperwork ready before the officer reaches your car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. D. Get out of your car and walk toward the patrol car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. If you are stopped by the police, keep your hands on the wheel and ask any passengers to keep their hands in view as well. You should remain in the vehicle unless the police officer asks you to get out. Wait until the officer asks you to retrieve your driver license, registration, and insurance cards. When you see a sign indicating your chosen exit point, you should A. Signal and move into the exit lane. B. Reduce your speed to the posted exit speed once you are within the deceleration lane. C. Both of the above. C. Both of the above. When you see a sign indicating that your exit is approaching, begin preparing for it. Signal and move into the exit lane as soon as you reach it. Once you are in the deceleration lane, reduce your speed gradually and slow to the posted exit speed. The maximum speed limit when driving in a rural area is. Fill in the blank. Unless a higher limit is allowed by federal law. A. 40 miles per hour. B. 55 miles per hour. C. 60 miles per hour. B. 55 miles per hour. In rural areas, the maximum speed limit is 55 miles per hour, unless a higher limit is allowed by federal law. In urban districts or residential areas, the maximum speed limit is 30 miles per hour. Before stopping your vehicle at a traffic signal or sign, you should A. Press down hard on the accelerator. B. Check your mirrors for surrounding traffic. C. Set the parking brake. B. Check your mirrors for surrounding traffic. When stopping your vehicle on the roadway, first check your mirrors for traffic. Be aware of surrounding drivers as you release the accelerator and allow your vehicle to slow. Move your foot to the brake pedal and press with steady pressure for a smooth stop. Drivers must be careful when passing large vehicles and should avoid driving beside large vehicles for long periods of time. A. True. B. False. A. True. Because large vehicles have large blind spots on both sides, you should avoid driving beside a large vehicle for a long period of time. It is safest for you to either drop back or move forward when you find yourself directly next to a large vehicle. At an intersection with a yield sign, you A. must yield the right-of-way to cross traffic that is close enough to cause conflict. B. Must yield to vehicles only on your right. C. Should slow down but never stop. A. Must yield the right-of-way to cross traffic that is close enough to cause conflict. When approaching a yield sign, drivers must give the right-of-way to traffic already in the lanes that they intend to enter or cross. Drivers should be prepared to stop when approaching a yield sign but may continue without stopping if there is no conflicting traffic.